How you doing, everybody? The name's Waddle Waddle, and welcome back. Unlike the last handful of updates, the Minecraft 1.20 Trails and Tales update, at least from what we know of the update, was a fully completed concept, with not very many cut features. In today's video, we're going to take a look at everything that was cut from the Minecraft 1.20 update that we know about, and also a couple things that almost made the cut too, to spice it up. I got a challenge for you. If you can think of one more thing that I completely missed, throw that down in the comments below. If you put that down in the comments and like this video, well then, you'll be the proud winner of this golden apple. Let's do this. We kick off our list today with a really interesting one. When it comes to features that were meant to be in 1.20 but didn't make the cut, this is one of the most mysterious ones. So for this one, first things first, we're gonna need to make ourselves a couple pots. Where the shards are or aren't, it doesn't matter at all because this takes place on every single pot in the game. Now after that, in creative Minecraft, with the help of the debug stick, we can cycle through this block states, and we have an unused, strange state called cracked. Take this plain pot, for example. There's nothing weird or anything about that. It's just made with a couple bricks, fully bricked up. We go ahead and cycle the state and take a look at it, and yeah, literally nothing changes. Below it, above it, like, it's 100% the same. It really makes me wonder what else they may have had planned for these pots. Like, oh yeah, and also, check this out. In spectator mode, we go into the pot, and what in the world is that? That's their cracked or not. Keep that in mind. We'll come back to it. Next up today, it's down to our local mineshaft. We were so close to a mineshaft update, and in hindsight, it would have been so cool. Why can't we get all the mobs? High key, the idea of the Rascal, a mod that you will play hide and seek with literally inside of the mineshaft, it was so cool. With this Rascal right here, we go ahead and walk up to it and tap it. After that, we found it once. Now I'm gonna need to follow this Rascal throughout the mineshaft and catch it 2 more times. Rascal, no, it's so quick. No, don't go down there. Don't go down there. Catch it second time. There we go. It laughs and, oh, my friend. Why do you do this? All right, well, I guess I gave up on the cobwebs and now it's your turn to help. Where in the world could the Rascal be? Like Dora the Explorer. I guess I'm legally blind. We catch the Rascal for the third, hey, come on, that was the third catch. What gives? All right, well, anyways, this should be catch number 3. Ah, yes, we catch it for a third time and potato. We get 4 potatoes. Thank you so much. So that's the thing that doomed the Rascal. I think if we knew that the Rascal was gonna get better loot, like say maybe diamond tools or something like that, if it was set up to give us better loot other than just like enchanted iron stuff, the Rascal might have had a fighting chance inside of the mob boat. But instead, this little guy it ended up getting cleared by the sniffer. Ah, yes, the good old-fashioned, the lovely cancel friend. You know, to be honest, I was looking for a reason. Another way I could take a trip back in time and bring these things back to life. The Firefly. So the Firefly. Obviously, for the Trails and Tales update, it's a little bit of a stretch. Minecraft's smallest mob was originally planned to be part of the Minecraft 1.19 update after all. But take into account what we were talking about with pots earlier, and actually, something we didn't even mention yet, the camel. And I do think it's weird. If you kept up with the content that was cooking up for you during the snapshot season of Minecraft 1.20, you might remember me obsessing over it a little bit. Long story short, inside of the camel for a long time, there was an oddly specific 2 pixels. These 2 pixels, it was a nod back to the past. Now obviously, when it comes to what the Firefly would have done specifically, we don't really know. It's kind of a little bit of a guess, but it's probably safe to assume this little guy would have done something. At least something more than just poison the frog. This mod's take on it is a pretty simple take. First things first, go off to your local swamp. Wait around until nighttime and then eventually you'll see some fireflies pop up. Grab a glass bottle, walk up to it, and catch it inside of a glass bottle. No, I said, and catch it inside of a glass bottle. After that, I guess you could like, put it in an item frame or something. Doesn't really do much. Firefly lanterns would have been one of the most beautiful things to see of all time, with a little firefly bouncing around inside of it. Alright, so this next one, it involves 2 players. Player number 1 is the Minecraft community as a whole. Player number 2 is none other than the great, the wonderful, the legendary, Mr. Dogs himself. This is a horse, and on this horse, I put a little bit of horse armor on it. It looks nice, but nowadays, in the context of Minecraft 1.20 with armor trim, it's severely lacking. Like, don't get me wrong, iron horse armor is cool looking, and then diamond horse armor, of course, the textures are a little bit different from armor to armor. You also got leather horse armor, always slept on, forgotten about, where you could, like, dye it. It's pretty cool. Now, look, I'm fully realized that in all likelihood, this is, like, half serious, if even then. I see a lot of people asking for armor trims on horse armor. But what if you could trim the actual horse instead? And while we're at it, you should be able to trim the inventory GUI. Trim the inventory GUI? I don't know about that, Mr. King B-Dogs, but trim the horse armor. Whew, that's a fire concept. And I mean, while they're at it, they could maybe finally get around to it, only like 5 updates later. And get some netherite horse armor too. With how much better the horses become ever since the combat changes instead of 1.20.2, it would have been really cool to see at least a little bit of the armor trimming thing carried over to the horse armor. It would have been so cool and fit perfectly into the update. Now, the way this mod handles it, one of the drops the Rascal can give you, if you get really lucky, is a bundle. And not that the bundle was like necessarily cut from 1.20, it is in the game and an experimental feature on Java, but it was definitely meant to be added to the game alongside Archaeology. Thinking about the Archaeology system as a whole and the large amount of random, kind of pointless loot that you get, taking on one of these things with like a crowded inventory or anything less than an inventory loaded up with shulker boxes and ender chests, at least if you want to keep everything, it's going to be almost impossible. If you want to try and treasure all of the past treasures, you would have to like basically build a storage building over here or something. With the help of something like the bundle, we would have been able to not only do the whole sharding and everything like that, but then also, after I start to pick up things, I could put them inside of the inventory and compact it down a little bit. Like, look at that. That's such a huge help. Now, unlike a lot of the other things that we're talking about today, I don't think all hope is lost for the bundle. Considering the fact that it's in the experimental toggles inside of the game, and considering the fact that it was recently updated on Bedrock Edition, all hope is, I think, not lost for the bundle. Eventually, one day, hopefully sooner, not later, we'll get this thing in the game for real. So, look, out of the ones we take a look at today, this is probably the most iconic cut Minecraft 1.20 feature. But technically, we never know if it was actually a feature or just a trap. Flashback, rewind, throwback to a good friend and old dear legend, Roger Badgerman. Roger Badgerman tweeted this image out, and then it was all over. And by the way, for legal reasons, my manager told me to blur that picture. You're gonna have to imagine it. Or are you? Or are you gonna have to imagine it? So look, I don't know about your take, but at least in my opinion, I really like this Sniffer, and I think it's super well done. It's a cool mod that does something different. But I do think, if you've ever built the Sniffer farm inside of your world like I built, only getting 2 different drops from the thing the whole time, I mean, it's a little bit lame. In ancient times, there has to have been more than 2 flowers. And that's where this old legend comes in. The legend that almost was. In this mod, it's called the Dawnberry Vine. Step number 1 is give the Sniffer a little bit of time, and hopefully it decides to dig up one of these vines. After that, we go over to a wall and plant it. If I use a little bit of bone meal on this vine, it'll go through all of the growth stages, eventually getting harvested. Honestly, this is such a cool take on this vine because check this out. Look what it does. You walk up to it, and you can literally pick it, and you get an item called the Dawnberry. It's basically a new type of food. Imagine a world, a reality, where this thing actually made it into the game, and we would have been able to have like a berry, a vine, or something growing on the wall that you could walk up to and pick and eat just like that. Not only just like the other berries in the game, the sweet berry, the glow berry, this would have been an insanely unique way to go about getting a brand new type of food. But also, I mean, like, look at it. It looks so good. To this day, I'm still so sad that the Sniffer doesn't have more than just 2 flowers. And also, of course, that those flowers, it's called a torch flower. Come on. I feel like they really need to stop sticking so hard to their word on these mob boat things where they say, oh, decorational flowers, and they lock it in. Like, come on, the Sniffer already won. Why not change it a little bit and make everyone happy? The Tough Golem. The Tough Golem was, well, to be honest, it had a tough chance of winning. It was nowhere close to even being in second place. Now that all the smoke is cleared from that year's mob vote, I gotta admit though, the Tough Golem was such an interesting concept. Like a tiny little statue that actually puts good use to the tough block, a basically pointless block. And like, I mean, look at this thing, it's a small little statue. We give this guy enough time and eventually, sooner or later, whenever this guy decides to start waking up a little bit earlier than 1 p.m. Alright, well, fine. Unemployed in your mother's basement is technically an option, but I don't know. This guy's just not waking up. But we can go ahead and level up the Tough Golem with a wool block. Check this out. If the Tough Golem got into the game, we would have had not only 1, but actually kind of like 2 Tough Golems. If we go ahead and interact with this Tough Golem somehow, like give it a block, boom, just like that, we got an item stand. And that's actually like low-key, high-key. It's kind of fire. Ah, finally, you did it, you come to life. And then look at this little guy, he like jumps around, walks around, bounces like pretty happily and like stares at the item, showing everyone in the world the item. It's so cool, it's such a nice thing. Now this one over here, because we didn't put wool on it, it's not going to be able to do anything. It's basically just like a small statue, which is a really cool concept. But speaking of wool, do you remember what else was proposed? Yeah, hold up. Well, look who finally decided to get out of bed. Good morning, my friend. Where are your clothes? With this OG Tough Golem concept, the thing that would have been most cool about this guy is all the customizability that you would have had. You would have been able to make the Tough Golem in every single color of wool. That's going to lead to not really just one golem being added, but kind of in a way like 16 golems being added to the game. In my opinion, the red one is absolutely fire. Just like the bed, it's a must-have. But to be honest, all of them are cool in their own right. Like, look at the purple one right there. Here, all that diamond. Yeah, that's so cool looking. Just like how it is with the llama, you could have had so many different options for interesting looking tough golems. Like an aquarium shirt? That's fire. In hindsight, after seeing this and taking into account how kind of like dead and not really alive feeling our bases are, maybe the tough golem could have been the move. This would have been really cool in a storage building, right? The Tough Golem, perhaps the most slept on mob vote candidate of all time. That's laddies, everybody, flashback rewind to Minecraft Live 2020. For this next one, admittedly it's a little bit of a stretch, but archaeology. How archaeology made it into the game nowadays, I mean it's nice and all, but it's completely different than the original concept of archaeology. And the structures, they're completely different too. So check this out. In the first reveal of archaeology, there were not one, but two different types of brushes. A little bit confusing. I wonder what the other one would have done. After that, there's this ancient dig site structure, kind of similar to like, I imagine the ocean of ruins, but on land. After that, Allrev walks over to a block and starts brushing it away, layer by layer. No sus block or anything like that. It's just a gravel block that he brushed away and unfortunately didn't find anything. And also, a diamond block too. Like, excuse me, what happened to the amazing stunning loot? They just decided to scratch that and say, hey, how about a green candle or a shard? I mean, look, nothing against shards or nothing like that. Like, they're cool, but a diamond block? Wow, that's beautiful. Because the old, ancient version of the archaeology system never made it into the game, there's no way to know for sure if it would have been necessarily better or anything like that, but at the least, some of the loot looked like it was going to be pretty good at the time they were originally talking about archaeology. That whole brushing a block away layer by layer was a pretty cool concept too. I mean, I do like this, and it definitely makes it a little bit less tedious to do. Like, I mean, this way, I guess you're not brushing out every single sand block and finding like practically nothing. Now, carrying on through that video, and what I would honestly, sadly, tragically consider maybe a slight downgrade, how you would have made pots originally was completely different, and in my opinion, way more cool. You would have started out with some kind of a clay pot, then you would walk over to it with the different shards and put the shards on it. It looked like originally too, you would have been able to put double the amount of shards that you can actually put on the pots. After that, you light it on fire, give it a little bit of time, and eventually the pot is fully smoked up. Also, that classic model of the pot, oh, that's clean looking too. The modern version of how you craft pots is definitely a million trillion times less tedious, but like, man, that would have been really cool. Anyways, canceled the Minecraft 1.20 features. Can you think of another one? Out of all of the ones that we took a look at today, which one would you have wanted to see added to the game the most? Is it that sniffer flower? Or maybe are you still Tough Golem gang? We're coming up on a couple pretty big days here in the Minecraft community. Mob votes, Minecraft Live, everything like that. Double check, make sure you're subscribed, and notifications on. Thank you all so much for watching. You're the best. Truly, it's been me, Wallace. And I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.